Seb Gorka, the president says that migration is destroying Europe. What does he mean by that?
Well, first things first, congratulations, Bev, the whole GB News team, Angelos, Mick, and everyone else. So excited to have you here at the center of the universe in Washington, D.C. What does he mean? Look, I don't want to get all professorial about it, but the whole speech, which was just a tour de force, is really about the revitalization, the rebirth of the Westphalian model of nation states. The president believes that nations must have borders, nations must exercise sovereignty over their territory. And what he means is you're not a country. You don't have an identity if you don't control your borders and who comes into your countries. It's just the revenge of common sense, because everyone who lives in the real world knows that everything he said today is true, especially that.
But the UN, there'll be a lot of people in that room today who are very keen on the idea of a sort of global governance without the individual nation states. So how must that have gone down in the room today to hear that excoriating attack on the principles by which most of those people live by?
You want me to try and pretend to be one of those self-hating, loathsome globalists? That's not what I'm good at. I serve the most consequential president of the modern age. I've done it before. I'm doing it again. God has blessed me with this opportunity. But at the end of the day, it's very simple. I realized this when I had my own nationally syndicated TV show here in America a few years ago. We live in such a peculiar age, Bev, when you look at the quote-unquote elites of various parts of Western Europe or even America under Obama, under Biden, the somnambulant quote-unquote president. These are people who are all connected by one thing. They detest their own countries. I mean, think about what Obama said 4 days before he was sworn in as president. He said, we are 4 days away from fundamentally changing America. You don't fundamentally change that which you love. If I told my wife tonight, you know what, I love you, Katie, but I want to fundamentally change you, I wouldn't be sleeping on the couch. I'd be in the doghouse for the rest of the night. These people, through some kind of perverse concatenation of self-hatred, reflect that self-hatred onto their own country. So that's who he was talking to in that huge congregation inside the UN General Assembly.
Let me ask you about your role here in counter-terrorism now for this government. We've seen these incredible pictures of you blowing boats out of the water. I think so far there have been confirmed 14 people killed, Venezuelan drug gangs. Just explain to us the legislative framework in which you as a government are allowed to take out criminals in that manner without a trial, because to some it does look pretty shocking.
Well, these are people who are murdering Americans by the hundreds of thousands. So it's done quite simply. In the 4 years of the Biden administration, more people were killed every year thanks to fentanyl and other illicit drugs than in 75 years of combat by U.S. forces. If you add up all the killed in action wearing the uniform of the United States, from Vietnam to Korea to Gulf War to to the Afghan conflict, 103,000 Americans were killed in uniform in 70 years. Under Biden's open border policies, the cartels would kill more than 110,000 people every year. So as a result, the cartels clearly declared war on us, and the president has declared war on them with utter justice and righteousness. What is he doing? He's using the Foreign Terrorist Organization legislation to designate those cartels and those gangs as foreign terrorist organizations against which we can use deadly force.
You're smashing your gangs under your very distinctive MO. How should the British government smash the gangs which are people trafficking as wannabe Brits across the ocean, across the channel, to come and live in the UK? What should we do, Seb Gorka?
I think you have to go back and watch the president's speech from the UN today. I watched it live with my counterterrorism team, or just print it off and read it. Maybe that's even better. When the president talks about the lives that we have saved by closing the border, the women, the young girls who now will not be trafficked into sex slavery, those young girls who won't be raped by the coyotes who are smuggling them across the southern border. If you believe in humanity, if you want to save those children, those young women, every nation of the world should stand up and secure their borders, because by doing so, you make the human trafficking of the cartels impossible. So if you want to save innocent women, innocent girls, then just secure your borders, whichever government you are.
We're doing the polar opposite, obviously, in terms of our sea border. And of course, the excuses that are used are that we are part of the Human Rights Convention, that we don't have a right to turn these boats back. We have charities on the beach ready to welcome people and hand them clothes and money and mobile phones, and we give them a hotel. And when you sit here as part of this administration, does any of that make any sense to you? Because it is so different to what's happening here in America.
Look, that doesn't make any sense to the, 17.4 million Brits who voted for national sovereignty in the greatest show of volition by the electorate of the United Kingdom when they voted Brexit to leave the EU. That's the same, that's cut from the same cloth. It's about national sovereignty. It's about borders. If you believe in doing what is right for humanity, then you really should follow the model of the president. Just think about what he mentioned in his speech today. Almost 2 million illegals have been removed from this country or self-deported because they're petrified of our borders are. Tom Homan, of the Homeland Security Advisor, Stephen Miller, or the Secretary of Homeland Security, Governor Noam. That's how you save a nation. Look, I grew up in the UK. I was the child of refugees, but real refugees, people who would have been killed if they went back to their nation of birth, not economic refugees. And one last thing, and I don't want to get wonky here or like nerdy, but you can't claim asylum in a country that is far away from the country you left. International law is clear. Once you escape the nation of your birth that is persecuting you, whether it's a communist dictatorship, a fascist regime run by the cartels, you are required by international law to apply for asylum in the first safe country you arrive in. You can't travel the globe from Africa through Afghanistan, through Western Europe, through Turkey, into France, across the Channel into the UK, and then request asylum, because then we know it's not about politics, it's not about persecution, it's about the welfare state. And as you said, getting that free mobile phone and that cushy little hotel in Brighton, that's not being a refugee. That's being an illegal immigrant who's playing the system. Here in the US, we've stopped it. Every other country that believes in national sovereignty should stop it too.
Well, Seb Gorka, what starts as an interview ends as a rallying cry, as usual with you. Thank you so much for giving us your time here this evening on The Late Show Live, and I will catch up with you very soon.
I look forward to seeing you in studio, and welcome again to the United States, and congratulations to GB News.